Hello again, it's Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network, taking you into the garage and talking to the folks that make the race cars go around the racetrack. We are so glad that you have joined us, and if you enjoy what we're doing here on Crew Call, like, share, subscribe, and spread the Crew Call gospel to everybody on your social channels. We would be grateful for that, and we appreciate it. I'm Steve Post, pit road reporter from Motor Racing Network, joined by 25-time and championship-winning crew chief Todd Gordon. Hello, Todd. How are you?
I'm great. Coming off a great weekend of racing. We had ARCA, Truck, Xfinity, Cup.
All hands on deck.
2 different places. Lucas Oil's Indianapolis Raceway Park.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, we got one of those coming up in the playoffs too.
It's IRP, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's IRP. Good show there, but a good show both Saturday and Sunday at the Brickyard.
The old campaign slogan: vote early and vote often. Okay, I want to equate that to strategy at Indianapolis. Yes. Strategy started early,
lap 20
on the Brickyard. Exactly. You and I both love strategy races, and this was just fascinating the way this was unfolding to see where everyone was at different portions of the race.
Yeah. It played out all day long, and we saw it early. Lap 20. Lap 20, you saw the Hendrick and Logano and Josh Berry stay out, putting themselves on a 3-stop strategy, which I really thought was the ticket. Austin Cindric drove off to a pretty big lead and was stretching out that piece to where he came to pit road when he had tire failure. Seemed like he and Joey both had speed, but both had tire issues.
Yes.
So that's not a Goodyear issue. That's a we're making speed out of taking more air out of the tire issue on a crew chief side. But thought it was going to work out for Josh Berry too, but he ran out of gas on a last lap after 2 green-white checkers. So yeah. And then we saw, honestly, Bubba Wallace won the race. A solid run all day long. They were top 6, seemed like. You know, they were right there, kind of ran top 10 most all day long, and put themselves in position. I really like what Charles did. You know, there was a caution. We talk about this. There was a caution there late 70s. Kyle Larson comes to pit road. Several come to pit road. Charles Denick leaves him out.
Right.
Pits under green at lap 88, which puts him in a position where he only needs 1 can of gas for his last stop.
Yeah.
That afforded them the 2-tire stop that cycled them out in front. Put them in control of the race.
Stay on your strategy.
Yes.
You stay on your strategy. How many times we see people get off kilter or react instead of act? And Charles did a great job. Bubba down the stretch did a masterful job saving fuel. Saving enough fuel to get to the to 2. They felt comfortable for 1 green-white checker. I think they were a little uncomfortable for 2, but Bubba did a great job saving fuel, and he had plenty once we got done.
With how close you have to be on everything, nobody can be comfortable to win a race.
No, exactly.
It's just not. They had enough to do a burnout and almost made it to victory lane before they ran out of gas.
Almost did. That is for sure. This is a team, Todd, that perpetually has been on the 3, 4, 5 years ago, we were talking about Booty Barker and Bubba and how they were doing in July and August on the bubble. I cannot imagine going to Iowa racing in August and not being on Bubble Watch for this race team.
Yeah, they're going to be out of their element, definitely. they should nickname him Bubble Bubba.
Absolutely.
Because, he has been. And he's been on the winning side. He's been on the losing side the last 2 years.
Yep.
But now he's clear of that, got themselves a victory. They're 11th in points. Let's keep that in mind.
They've been good all year.
They have, and it's been a different Bubba this year. I feel like.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like being a dad has made a difference in his life. It's kind of brought some maturity. We saw that post-race in the interviews that he had. I think Charles Denick's been good for him as well.
I think so too.
There's a leveling factor there, and they've still got Booty Barker in the fold back at the shop, having an impact on the whole piece.
Yeah, it is really, really cool what's going on over there. So kudos to Charles Denick, career first Cup Series win. He's a 10-time winner in the Truck Series, but got that first one as a crew chief on the Cup Series. So good stuff. That's for
great
sure.
stuff.
Great stuff for sure. Denny Hamlin, Chris Gale, last to third. It's
pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. It really, truly is. The whole RFK, 2 cars in the top 5. Good stuff. Todd Gilliland, a 6th place finish. Alex Bowman, a 9th place run, and that's what we're going to focus on today, but a solid day for Bowman and that Hendrick team.
Yeah, got himself some stage points in stage 2, little different strategy. We talk about this being a strategy race. Put themselves in a position 63 above the cut line, but more importantly to me, and I'll bring this up to Blake when we have him on, he's 21 above 16th.
Yes.
Which I really feel like with the races we've got coming up, and with Daytona hanging as the last race, you got to count on at least one more winner, and that one more winner means that Chris Buescher, who's the last car in, would be below the cut line, moves the cut line up to him. That 21-point buffer to Buescher, I think, is something they've got to continue to build.
We will get Blake Harris's feel on that. How comfortable is he with the 21 points? How comfortable is he where he's at?
Yes.
One new winner, or will there be others? We'll talk to Blake Harris next here on Crew Call.
The NASCAR channel is available now on Tubi. Tell them we got it. 24/7 news, documentaries, with access to the exclusive NASCAR Vault. The NASCAR channel, always on, always free, only on Tubi.
Welcome back. It is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network. We talked before the break here. Let's go over to Hendrick Motorsports. Joining us as crew chief on that Ally Chevrolet for Alex Bowman. Blake Harris joins us. Hello, Blake. How are you?
Doing well. Good morning to you guys.
Blake, ninth place finish at Indy. Todd noted you got a couple of stage points there. How did Indy unfold for you? I know you didn't get the win, but just kind of describe what you found up there at Indianapolis.
It was a little bit of a tough weekend for us in general. Track, got super slick there in qualifying, and I thought we had a reasonable run going, and we just didn't have enough grip off of 2 and qualified 21st. And we wanted to set ourselves up. We got that early caution. We chose to come down pit road, go ahead and get 4 tires and try to open up some strategy later in that race there. And that's kind of what we did. It's super tough to pass there. I don't know that we had a car, dominant enough to just go driving by people. And I don't think there were too many of those cars there. So we took our shot at some strategy. There was a rain at one point, that looked like it may show up at the end of stage 2 and, could potentially reset some things like, not necessarily a race ender, but kind of mix some strategy back up. So I wanted to get a little off sequence, and I got Alex out front there for a little bit and got to put ourselves in position to pit and stay on the lead lap and get on the front side of that next fuel window. And that just set us up for opportunity for stage points. And, when you're kind of 20th or so there, it's going to be really tough unless something just works out perfectly to have a shot to win. So at that point, we were just really trying to maximize our day and points, and to be able to get, some decent stage points there and then come home with a top 10. Really happy with that on the execution side.
Yeah, and you look at this, 63 above the cut line. More importantly to me, 21 above Buescher for that 16th spot. As you look at this, do you feel decent about that? Do you just need to execute your way through, or are you anxious still about that?
Yeah, I don't know that I'm super anxious about it. I went into the season thinking, we gotta win, right? I mean, we want to win in general, but you got to win before the playoffs and be informed by the time you get to the playoffs. So I don't know that my outlook on that's really changed all season. I think, as different things have happened throughout the year, everybody like, oh, do you feel safe, or how do you feel about this? And I'm just always like, well, we need to win, and that'll solve everything. I think our year in general, we've had really good pace a lot this season, and when we execute, we finish well, and we've run in the top 5 and the top 10, more than we have in the past, at least Alex and I together. So I feel confident on that, but I think the best thing we can do is put things in our hands, and when we have opportunity to win a race and have ourselves in position, that's what we need to do. So, I think Bubba winning last week was certainly not what we needed. That's going to narrow things a little bit, and if we aren't able to win one of these next 4, it's certainly going to put a little more pressure on just not being able to have bad days, right? So I think that, and that's what Indy was for us. I think we had the opportunity to run 20th and just kind of inch our way forward and see how that day was going, and I'm watching where that 17 car is as well through that race, and he was running pretty well, and I was like, man, we really need to kind of pull something out to have at least a shot to close that gap to him, and ultimately we're able to do that by the
Blake, you mentioned that get a win and be in championship contending form. Okay, I understand you're working on getting that win. I look at this: 4th at Mexico, 3rd at Atlanta, 3rd at Dover, 9th at Indy. You've got to feel good about not only the results, but the cross-section of racetracks you're getting those results at as well.
Yeah, we've had some decent runs at pretty much every configuration that we've gone to this year, and we're we're going back to Watkins Glen in a couple weeks, and that was a place that had been tough for Alex in the past, and we qualified fourth there last year in the playoffs. And then, honestly, our speedway execution has been kind of a highlight of the 48 team for the last couple of years. I mean, we've had some of our strongest runs and strongest finishes. So I'm really looking forward to getting these last four. I like our shots at all of them, honestly. I think we can go run well, and excited to get there and just continue to execute. We've, when I talk to my team each week right now, you talk about the recent performance that we've had and some of the finishes that we've strung together in the last 5-6 weeks. When I look back to last year, we were kind of having an up and down start to the summer, and we win Chicago, and then we stopped talking about getting in the playoffs, and then we roll into the playoffs, and we legit pointed our way into the final 8 there. And unfortunately, getting thrown out didn't do ourselves any favors, but we go to the next week to Vegas and shot to win that race, so when you zoom out, you're 1-2 spots away from having a shot to go contend in the championship for. So my point to my guys, and the emphasis that I continue to put on them, is, just our process, right? Our process right now is execution. We have fast race cars and we go execute, we get the finishes. That's the best thing we can do. We can't control where the cautions fall and, what everybody else does. And if we just go execute and do what we know we're capable of, then I think we'll be in a good spot.
As you look at the 4 races you've got coming up, Iowa this weekend, Watkins Glen after that, Richmond and Daytona, I don't feel like any of those. I feel like all of those you can contend for wins. When I think about Alex and where he's run well, I feel like Richmond falls in the piece. I feel like road racing, to your point, Watkins Glen may be a little different, but you've made recovery there, and you guys have done a great job road racing. Any of those that kind of stand out to you, or any of those that you have a little heartburn over?
Yeah, I'm probably most excited about getting to Iowa. We were really fast on Friday last year, and we went out super early on Saturday and did not have a good qualifying run. Mm-hmm. And I think we qualified like 36th or 35th. It was awful. And they dropped the green for the race. And we've got the race plan in there this morning, and it was lap 40. And I think we were 9th or 10th. And I asked one of my guys, I was like, did we drive there? Was this a pit cycle? He's like, no, we already made all that up. So I think we had some really fast race cars in general, with obviously Kyle winning and dominating a lot of that race last year. So I'm excited to get there. It's a new tire, so there's going to be some challenges and making sure we hit the balance and all those things this weekend. But he had some laps around there prior to the Cup stuff. So I think it fits his driving style. And in general, like anywhere you have to go and keep the tires on and that short track style feel. I think, we make pace really, really well on long in general with Alex's style. So I'm excited about getting to Iowa, probably the most. Watkins Glen, we've continued to work on for him, getting him comfortable there. I think we made a big step in that last year. And unfortunately, we had to, we were point racing in the second round of the playoffs, so we had to do some weird strategy stuff to make sure we got stage points and kind of throw our finish for that. But really looking forward to getting back there. Richmond has not been strong for HMS the last year and a half. So we're going to have to carve that one up a little different than we have. And again, I talk about Daytona. I'm excited to get to these next 4. And I think Richmond's probably the one we have circled. We need to do a little homework on. That's one I'm most nervous about.
You started with Iowa. They repaved the corners last year. It seemed like corner entry was still on old asphalt and down in. How do you accommodate, or how do you kind of look at and project how much that new asphalt ages? What do you use to kind of figure out where the grip level goes to as you're taking last year's notes and developing this year's?
Yeah, they've had a wheel force test there since we've been there. They had another tire test when they were trying to figure out what tire they were going to bring back. So different constructions, less stagger. There's going to be a lot of variables. I think, at least my opinion, you get to those tracks up north that go through some of those heavy winters. That stuff, deteriorates and ages. And I don't know that we've gone back to a track that's rough that hasn't gotten rougher since the last time we've been there. So we're certainly going to be looking into that as well. So just rely on our tools and all the information that we have, and all our partners at GM and the key partners stuff that we have. They did the tire test there for the Chevrolet group. So rely on all those tools and information that we have and try to make the best decisions.
You mentioned the track being rough. Is there a particular area of that racetrack that you're going to need to focus on, at least quickly, as to what you're going to be focused on early in that practice to see what the cars are doing?
Yeah, corner entry to 1 is pretty spectacular. I think watching those things, we watch them and you watch SMT and you get honed in on the computer and all the things and you listen to them, and then you go out there for qualifying at least, and that's the first time you're kind of like right there watching them come by one by one. You're like, holy smokes! Like it's super rough there. But I mean, it gives a little character. I think we get into the tracks that are super smooth and make tons of grip. The cars get lined up and everybody kind of does the same thing. I think that opens up for the ability to get some guys moving around and get a little bit offline and hopefully make the racing pretty decent for us.
With the other 3 teams that are at HMS with wins and really good points positions, I'd say locked into the playoffs. Does that change the focus, or is it business as usual, all 4 teams going forward? Do you get any different work through these last 4 races?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of conversations, at least crew chief wise. If there's something we need parts piece wise, the other guys are more than willing to give us anything we need, and really just all resources at HMS for sure at our hand to have whatever it is that we feel like we need for focus. And I feel like they do a pretty good job here of kind of leaving it up to teams. We come in on Monday morning and like, what do you need? What do you need for this week? And if there's something on that list that we need, it's kind of full force to give us that. But we certainly can't ignore the fact that the 3 other teams are in a very heated battle for the regular season championship, and that's something we certainly want to bring home to HMS. So, I think also what's good and important out of teammates is having fast teammates, right? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean we have to all do the same thing, and we all go out there and carve things up a little bit different on how we're going to start on balance or car build stuff. We walk away from practice, if one of us has hit it really well, then that helps as much as anything. So, I think in general, the cars that have come out of HMS this year at about every track style has had a lot of pace. So that's been fun. Really appreciative of teammates that I have here and the other crew chiefs working with us. But yeah, I think we've got everything we need. We've got as much focus as we ask for from anybody here, and really excited to go get this 48 in the playoffs and hopefully watch that regular season championship come home here too.
Yeah, so much going on. I didn't even think about the regular season championship with your other teams over there, but it is quite the spirited battle. How do you balance, Blake, focused on the here and now, but have you taken a little peek at the playoffs? I know you're not locked in, but how do you balance that when you're in this scrum that you're in trying to make your way in, but you don't want to just get to the playoffs and be like, oh my gosh, we're wore out already?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about, everywhere we go, kind of leads into something else, right? I mean, we just got done at Indy, and the next time, we're going to have that L over D type, somewhat drag dependent intermediate package is Kansas in the playoffs, right? So you leave here and try to make good notes about like, here's what I think I would do different if I came back here. Here's what's probably applicable to those races. So you're never not working on the next style track. And sometimes that's in the playoffs, sometimes it's not. But if that makes sense, we're always looking ahead and scheduling wise, car layout, I've never treated it as if we're not going to be in the playoffs. So, each week is each week. We plan out our 4 or 5 weeks in advance on what cars are going where, and we certainly make sure that we stack our best stuff here to make sure we've got good enough stuff to get ourselves in the playoffs. But the plan's always been to make the playoffs, so prepping just the same, and and plan on going to win Darlington whenever that starts.
When you say the best stuff, and that's one piece that I think back to Gen 6 cars, and we built specific cars. Now you've got clips, you've got center sections, you're kind of bolting stuff together. How big is the difference between your best car and maybe not the car that kind of sits in the corners of black sheep? Yeah,
I think for us the biggest difference is just how how tight a rotation you would ask for. If you've got 7 chassis, there's probably 4 or 5 that you want to run, and a couple that will keep it as your backups, right? And if there's somewhere that you run really strong, we may ask for a car to turn around a little bit quicker than we would, right now, where if we were locked in, you might say, okay, well, I'm going to save this rotation for the playoffs, right? Well, we can't really, maybe we're risk something at a certain style track, and worry about wrecking it. We would probably take a little more risk right now just because we want the performance, right? And we can't stack it all for the playoffs. So fortunately, Indy was a big one for that. I typically, even though everybody takes their best stuff to Indy, I probably would have not taken my best stuff because, as Alex reminded me several times last week, he had never finished a race on the oval prior to this last weekend. So we took really good stuff there and was like, all right, buddy, let's try to keep it in one piece. So I think that's the biggest thing for us is just maybe running a tighter rotation, asking the shop to turn some things around, just making sure that we're kind of in that sweet spot for every week here for a little while.
There we go. Awesome. Mission accomplished at Indy with a 9th place finish, finishing on the oval, and we'll see what you have this week at Iowa. Blake, we appreciate the time, and I look forward to catching up with you at the racetrack. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. We'll see you guys there. Thanks.
Blake Harris, crew chief on the Ally Chevy. Alex Bowman at Hendrick Motorsports. Stay with us. More crew call in just a moment.
3, 2, 1, start your engine!
The NASCAR channel is streaming now, exclusively on Tubi.
Tell them we got it!
Go deeper into NASCAR with 24/7 news, documentaries, and explore the vault of timeless NASCAR stories and unforgettable races. From crushing defeats to the thrill of victory.
Go, baby!
The NASCAR channel, always on, always free. Only on Tubi.
Welcome back. It is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network. Todd Gordon, Steve Post. Always enjoy chatting with Blake Harris, getting his perspective on things, and just to see where they're at. They're in the middle of it. They're in I always call it the scrum. They're in the middle of it, but performing really, really solidly along the way, though.
Yeah, 9th in points.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, if you look at this, like we talked about Bubba winning, right? Won his way through. He was on the cut line. He was 11th in points. Or he was 13th. He got to 11th with the win. Blake's 9th in points. The race right now for the last spot is 10th to 15th or something like that. And 9th and 10th is really the one I think that's going to be there. That's Alex Bowman, Chris Buescher.
Yep. So off to Iowa. Goodyear presents this preview of Iowa. Crew chief, what are we looking at out there in the Heartland?
7/8 mile racetrack. 350 laps, it's just over 300 miles, kind of short race. When you look at it, stage 1, we can get all the way out to lap 70.
Right.
No problems there. Fuel will take you that far. That's less than 70 miles. Fuel will typically take you close to 100. But we won't see that. Stage 2, 140 laps. Stage 3, 140 laps. Going to need to see a cycle someplace in there. Cautions bring guys down pit road. As Blake talked about, the challenge is getting turn 1, your cars get kind of bumpy and hairy on the old asphalt till they get to the patch. We'll see what the patch has now that it's had a year of age on it, but we'll see these guys have to cycle through both stage 2 and stage 3 with a pit cycle some point, whether that happens under green or happens at a caution break. Guys are looking for caution so they aren't vulnerable to going a lap down.
Yeah, it is crazy. It really, truly is going to be interesting to see. And I'm curious, like everyone else, what that patch, what that grip strip that was there last year, what it's like, and also with a new tire as well.
And then what happens if there's a caution with 25 to go?
Woo! Decision time from the top of the pit box.
It's when the crew chiefs get to make a difference.
Absolutely. There you have it. Quality from the track to the road, to the street. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, presenting that preview of the race. And we've got a busy, busy weekend out there. Oh my gosh. Friday night, 7 p.m., the Arca Menard Series, the Atlas 150. Saturday, 1:30 in the afternoon, NASCAR Cup Series practice and qualifying. 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, NASCAR Xfinity Series, the Hy-Vee Perks 250. And on Sunday, 2:30, the Iowa Corn 400 presented by Ethanol. Going to be a big, big weekend out in the corn country out at Iowa Speedway. Love that we've added this racetrack to the tour. I think that this is a good part of that variety section that we talk about with the NASCAR schedule.
Yeah, I loved it when they built a racetrack here to start with. And back in those days, this was an Xfinity or Nationwide or Busch, whatever name, title sponsor it was for the Saturday show, only racetrack. And I thought it was a really cool racetrack. Loved going there. People talk about it being a big Richmond. I see it as a little intermediate.
Do you?
Yeah, I just don't see it. I know it's not. It's an eighth of a mile bigger than Richmond, but just corner entries are different. Place is unique, but a great little racetrack to go to. Put on a heck of a show last year. Looking forward to what it can do. Beautiful weather.
Oh, I know. That's what everyone's talking about.
Sunny and 70s.
Loving
it.
We have been, as much of the country has been, we've been baking here in the Charlotte area, and I saw that weather forecast, and I'm even going to add to it. I might have to throw in a sweatshirt because I'm going to go down to Knoxville for some sprint cars on Saturday night and Thursday night out there as well. I might actually have to bundle up with a sweatshirt, and thinking about that with what we've been going through here recently in the Carolinas, that is going to be a little slice of heaven. That's for sure. Going to be awesome.
Definitely will be.
Going to be awesome. That is for sure. Hey, we appreciate Blake Harris joining us. More important than all of that, though, thank you for joining us this time here on Crew Call on the Motor Racing Network.